Start recording. How's it
Got
going?
Good.
What's
Yeah.
happening?
What's happening?
Okay,
Gosh.
actually, well, what happened since we decided to set our lives on fire 3 days ago?
3 days ago. I still can't get over the how that popped up to set your life on fire. So interesting. So interesting. Anyways, work. I think that one of the cool things was the values exercise.
Yeah, what came up for you? So that was day 2, right? We asked.
And 3 to some extent, but identifying values was day 2. Now I think I got a little lucky on that one because I did this exercise before. So I don't think it's easy to figure out like top 5 values, right? Because it's very hard to narrow down. I mean, look, you can list 30 values on a list, but to say these are my top 5, this is not super easy. And I think I talked about this on the last one, but I did this exercise where I had this list of values, and I tried to number them of importance, like 10 being really important, 1 being less, in between. But then what we did is we told some stories of my past when I really felt like things were aligned and moving in the right direction. So there are multiple stories, like military stories of, being in training and challenge and having a group around you and teams and growing and, like all this stuff. And then there was like seminar staff stuff, those early days of just like being on the road and feeling like you're really making a difference. And so he looked at all these things and I tell these stories and he would pay attention to the reoccurring like themes that popped up and then match them to my list. And the 5 top ones were things like family, meaningful experiences, challenge, personal growth, and stability. So there we go. Those are my 5.
That.
Yeah.
I love that you were able to have that experience and go through stories in your past to kind of identify that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
That's awesome. I've done like value exercises, morals and values through the 12 steps, right? Like working the 12-step program with my sponsor. But then this time when I was going through it and I was like, yeah, these are my values. So easy. And I was like, but are they my values or are they my parents' values? Or are they what I think society values? Like, are these morals or are these values? And how do my actual beliefs shape these, or how do they shape my beliefs? And so I'm kind of sitting in a space of like,
are these
are these actually mine? Like trying to identify like where they came from. And I also, I really have noticed in the last week just what an analytical mind I have. I have to analyze everything to death. I analyze conversations, I analyze interactions between people, I analyze everything. My mom used to say analysis paralysis, and it's so true because I analyze everything to the point where I'm just like so confused that I actually don't even know what's going on anymore. But I think for me right now, my values, my top 5 are family, freedom. I have this huge desire for freedom. And I think it stems from feeling so trapped in
what
my
does
addiction.
that mean for you, for freedom?
You always ask such interesting questions. The freedom to be who I am and to express myself as I want to not necessarily have to play small or shrink back or be the good girl or be the person that allows other people to have their experiences and sit back and be like, okay, it's almost my turn.
Right.
But my turn never comes. So taking and owning what's mine. And that if that sounds selfish, then fine, right? But I'm at an age now, I'm 42, and I've sat back and allowed or encouraged other people to shine, and very often to my own detriment.
Yeah. 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 That's
So
interesting.
the freedom, I think, the freedom to give myself permission to explore and make mistakes.
Make mistakes without like
Harming people.
harming people, but also like completely like without guilt and shame associated with making mistakes, right? Because there is no perfection. There's always going to be mistakes, but yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, we're our own worst critics and we make these mistakes, and you go back through that thought loop that you just talked about, this over analysis. I made a mistake, and what does this mistake mean? And who's thinking about this mistake, and how are they judging me because of this mistake? And, you know, how am I judging that's at least where I go with mistakes, is like, oof, I'll just get in this loop,
It's
and
fucking
it's very
awful.
hard to come out of it. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I was actually talking to this guy that I dated for a little while, who's just the he has one of the most brilliant minds when it comes to this kind of stuff ever.
Hmm.
And in an effort to kind of get to know myself, I was like, hey, we need to get on a call. And he was probably like, God, this woman is just crazy. I was like, I need to learn about myself, and I need to learn about my behaviors. And you need to tell me exactly what I did wrong. And I mean, literally beating myself up, right? And you know what he said to me? He said, with the stuff that you're going through, I'm going to put this on a t-shirt. It's a lesson, not a roast.
Oh, interesting.
You know, because I will take anything and I can turn anything into an opportunity for me to beat myself up.
Oh yeah, just complete, yeah, an
And so
attack.
I don't allow myself freedom. I
Mm.
don't allow myself the freedom to make mistakes, and the freedom
And
to
then
get things
learn.
wrong,
Yeah,
and the freedom to be like, you know what, it didn't work out, or, you know, I messed up. But my intentions are never mean or bad, or, you know, my intentions really are good. I have a really good, beautiful heart. And
absolutely.
so I need to be kind to myself.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think the freedom to,
that's freedom.
you know, that's freedom. Well,
Which
freedom, at
what?
least for me, who lives in my head.
No, I think that's. I mean, and that is a version of freedom. That's why I wanted to ask that question, because freedom can mean so many things. Like freedom can be financial freedom. Freedom can just, you know, whatever. But that's what freedom means to you. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. What
I,
number was that? That was your third one?
um, yeah, family, freedom, abundance, success. I
Okay.
have a desperate need to be successful, and I don't necessarily know if this is mine, or if it stems from coming from a family of insanely high achievers.
Mm,
Who am I
yeah.
if I'm not successful? Who am I if I don't leave a mark in this world? Who am I if I
What does success
just,
mean? What is the measure of success?
right? What is the measure of success?
Well, it's different. It's
It's,
going to be
I
different for
don't know.
everybody.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have this other friend, Will, who will say to me, I don't understand you. You've been so successful and you've achieved so many incredible things. Yet anytime I ask you about yourself, you never mention any of them. And
Hmm.
I will always look at the things that I've done, like that conference that I put in South Africa South
Mm-hmm.
Africa. That should never have happened. That should never have been successful. It happened despite everything. You know, and I don't want to get into the
Come on.
story, but it
Okay.
literally, I mean, I remember
Really?
Professor Noak saying to me, you're going to bankrupt us both. And I was like, nope, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I know it is. I got 3 million in funding and sponsorship. I went in there, I fucking put my heart on my sleeve. I gave the pitch of my life. I got this huge insurance and company to sponsor the conference. It happened. It was the first of its kind in the world. It was the first time all like the big low carb thinkers like Gary Taubes and Jason Fung and Prof. Noakes and all these Steve Finney, all these big guys came together in the same space. And it set about a bigger movement throughout the world, right? And it's not just because of me, but if I look back and I think, how did I do this? This little person with like not much money, like set her mind to something and made it happen. And then I wrote the sugar-free book, and that became super successful. And I did that, and I ran these sugar-free challenges before anybody else was doing it. And before social media was such a big thing, like 10 years ago, managed to get 10,000 people onto a sugar-free challenge, the first one I ever ran.
That's crazy.
By no marketing or promotion.
No, and I've seen you do similar things, even in the time that I've known you. I mean, you've got a unique ability to bring people and resources and pull things together, like, and make it successful. It is. Now,
but you know what the problem is?
I was about to say, now, what does that mean to you?
It's never good enough.
Right. Yeah, well, that seems like I know, listen, and I have no background in any kind of analysis here, but yeah, that seems like a value based on someone else's measurement of success.
Yeah, I didn't do the world's first heart transplant.
All right.
So how?
That your grandfather?
And that was my grandfather.
Yeah.
So how can anything ever measure up to that?
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I think our values are shaped by experiences, obviously, but then like our own families and that kind of stuff. Because I think stability for me, it's a bit of the opposite. Stability for me is because my father was always chasing success so much that we had zero stability. We had a lot of money, and then we were broke, like completely broke, like living with family. He was moving across the country to start a new job and try to make enough money to bring us there. We're like jammed in a house in Arizona in the summer, like 7 or 8 people living in a tiny little house, just, like, and then he would do really well and become successful and make a lot of money. And he was he was not risk adverse, and he'd take some risks, and then it would just completely bottom out again. So our lives were like this, and then with somebody who, as loving as he was, had some severe mental health issues. So for me, it's like, yeah, I'd love to be successful, but successful enough to feel stable. Like, I don't need to be the most successful. I don't need the most money. I don't need the most shiny things. I need to know that where I am is on stable ground, and I'm good.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really, really, really love that. It just feels safe.
That's it. I mean, and it's all based off of, past and experiences and those types of things, But anyway, so you have success, abundant success. I think that was 4. What's your last one?
Passion.
Passion. Okay, yeah.
Obviously. Live a life of passion, which basically just means fun, exciting, hardcore dopamine hits all the time. No, it's I mean, I think it's some of that for sure, but I think passion just means really connecting with what it is that I value and where I see myself in this world. And having something to wake up for every day and live for. And I have to tell you that it's only been 4 or 5 days now. I don't even know anymore. But
this is day 5, I think.
This is day 5. Okay. The first day, and I shared this before, the first day I woke up when we were about to record, and I was like, I feel like I have passion and purpose. And I feel like I have something exciting in this day to live for, something that I don't need to look for an external fix. Like right now, today, I feel good. I don't feel like I need to go and do stuff, like try and find something to fill this hole. Like I felt like I actually had that. And then we didn't record for the last 3 days for various reasons. And then this morning again, I was like, this is exciting. Like, this is exciting. This to me feels good. This to me feels right. I don't know where it's going. But I know what we need to do to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It was interesting. I told you this too, like after that first podcast and filming, when we ended the video,
yeah,
it was like this fear and anxiety of like, okay, well, you're about to completely expose yourself to anybody willing to watch, and who knows how many people watch, right? Like, so maybe I'm exposing myself to 3 people, not a big deal, but
500.
but 500, but it's terrifying. It's terrifying because I do think we walk around wearing multiple masks, and kind of taking those off and saying, okay, well, this is really how I am. I think there's a lot of growth there, and that's what I want to get out of it. But at the same time, it completely terrifies me, 100%. But, I'll say, like, there's been a lot of, it's with day 5, there's been a lot of, how much growth can you get in 5 days? But there are some roots, right? Like, things are moving, things are growing, and I can feel that for sure. Which is nice, because that kind of goes into when we were talking, on day 3 of essentially which value you're not living up to. And the one that I feel like I'm not living up to is personal growth.
Oh,
I think
interesting.
it
And
isn't.
why? Okay, why?
It's, well, so when we think about values, and when I started really looking into, like, what do these values mean, or what do values mean? And they talk about this, like, unconscious or subconscious drive to, fulfillment, authenticity, a satisfying life. Like, it's the driving force to being able to thrive. When I think about where I've been since, I got divorced, I think anybody, even if the divorce is amicable, you leave that situation lost. Like, you just don't know where you are anymore. Like, you don't even know who you are, because your whole life just has completely changed.
Yeah.
And it was at that point where I was like, okay, well, then, like, this is when I really understood how important personal growth was to me. But there was a lot of thought and not a lot of action, and it's interesting because I think, like, it seems like, and I experienced this a lot over the last few years, it seems like when you're living in a way that is not matching, or in accordance with your values, you're no longer on that path. And if you think about it that way, it's like being on any path or trail. If like, you're on this trail and you have a place you're trying to go to on the trail, then you wander off. And as you wander off, you get lost. And as soon as you're lost and you don't know where that trail is anymore, like, panic sets in. And then when panic sets in, your thoughts are racing in multiple directions. Like, how did I get here? Right? What's my past? How did I get here? How did I get to this point? Because I need to retrace that and figure out how to get back on track. And then the other thoughts are like, where am I going? How do I get back on track? Where am I going? What's the future look like? And there's this, like, chaotic thought process of past and future and past and future, and it takes you out of where you are right now.
Yeah.
Like, so, I feel like when you're not living in a way that matches your values, there's no longer any presence. And people talk about presence all the time, but it's very hard to be present because you're just completely off the track, and you're only thinking about how you got where you are, how you get back on track. You're not experiencing anything that's going on right now.
No.
And that's, I don't know if your question was why, but why, I think, is I don't know.
It doesn't
why.
matter.
Exactly.
This was a great conversation.
But I think it's like, when you're in that situation, the whole focus, and I think this has been my focus over years since divorce, is survive. versus thrive. Like there wasn't any thriving, it's purely surviving. And I think what this is I hope this helps me do is start to put things back in order to get back onto a path of thriving, of fulfillment, of authenticity, of satisfaction. That's the goal.
Oh, I love that so much. That's so beautiful. I think when you were talking about the, getting lost and getting off track and those feelings like of like, where am I? This panic, that is my anxiety to me.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of years, I have realized that my anxiety only shows up when I am not living in accordance with my morals and my values. That is the only time. I will say to my friends, I am so fucking anxious. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going to jump out of my skin. I can't do this. And then if I'm honest with myself, there's something in my life at that very moment that I need to stop doing or change. And the anxiety disappears almost immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible. So it's this like internal guidance system that I can't label as bad anymore, because it's not bad. It's just trying to show me the way. And it's up to me to listen or not.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's not bad. It's just a sign. It's recognizing that and saying, okay, well, here it is.
What is it showing?
It is very interesting, because if you can pay closer attention to what you're feeling internally in any given action or conversation, then you have those signs, right? You have the sign that's like, hey, make it right. You're getting off track. Get back over
come
here,
on.
and for sure.
We're shaking here.
Yeah.
But you're still going.
Exactly. But it's easy to, and I've done it, like ignore those signs. You do it for too long and it's a mess. Or like, the other quick way to completely, live in a way that does not match values is like self-destruct buttons, right? And things that I've done that. Oof, I've done that a lot in the past. And I will say, like, I think I've learned from those. I'm trying not to do the just let's burn this thing down to the ground switch anymore, because that's when, like, you want to talk about some of the worst times in my life.
Yeah, I do.
Were the times when I just said, fuck it, and just boom, hit this thing and it exploded. And then you come out of like the flames and you just like, you don't even know who you are anymore. Like that's the worst. Those are the worst times.
They are, but I think they're happening for a reason, right? And we can go into them mindfully and choose it as personal growth, or we can go in it with a fuck it switch and self-sabotage, and the outcomes are very different.
Yeah.
But I think part of growing up, and the last couple of years have been a process of growing the fuck up. Like, what does it mean to grow up and be an adult and take responsibility, has been to distinguish between this self-destruction versus personal growth, and that they have the same energy at their core. It's how I choose to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there is. That's the fork in the road. It's like, okay.
Yeah, the fork in the road.
Here's what's going on. Now,
yeah,
I can learn from this. I can grow. I can take these lessons forward, or I could self-sabotage and destroy everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot to think about. Okay. What about day 3?
Yeah, day 3 was the, which one are you not living up to? And for me, that, like I said, that was, personal growth. And I mean that for a lot of reasons. And it's I said it coming out of divorce, and it's more than just relationships, right? It's, maybe it's not, but it's more than relationships with another person. It's also the relationship with myself. Because I think through the last, decades, right? To be honest, but there have been experiences, whether it be, a marriage where we had kids and then that didn't work out. And then, of course, like you come out of that and there's guilt, and then that guilt turns into shame, right? And you're like, man, I'm just not a good person, and I'm not a good partner. And then, I had a pretty interesting, and this is a funny one. It's not funny at all, actually, but it's interesting how I describe this situation, and I don't talk about it often, but there was my father passed away in 2009. I was 28, but it was 2009. And he took his own life. And that experience, for reasons of being able to express my needs and then seeing the outcome of it, which wasn't the outcome of it. We'll get into this really quick, but that happened, I think, on a Sunday night into like a Monday morning. And the week prior, I think it was like a Thursday night, we were going to go to the movies. I'd been working all week in school and stuff. And then I was working a seminar, and I was going to travel on Friday. So on Thursday came around, afternoonish, I canceled. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I have travel coming up. Like, I'm just going to sit out, not go to the movies. Right.
Were you meant to go to the movie? Sorry, with your dad?
With my dad.
Okay.
So fast forward to Monday morning, I show up at his place, see what's going on, because nobody's heard from him, and find him there. And what's on the counter? A gift card to the movie theater. Obviously not placed there for that reason, but it was a very interesting experience of, here's how I express what I need, here are the outcomes. So from that point, like, it's been super hard to do those types of things. Been super, super difficult.
What has been super hard to do? What?
To just be able to say, like, what I need and be okay with the outcome.
Oh, wow. God, Mike, that's huge. Because what if somebody else hurts themselves or harms themselves because you weren't there?
And that's the thing. And it's like, and that's like, so where I'm going with this is that's a relationship with, like, that's something I wrestle with. So personal growth for me to be in a better relationship doesn't only mean a relationship with another person. I need to learn, I need to heal within myself, the relationship with myself. And so going through that, and then, going through a divorce, which, look, that's another thing where, like, multiple people, and not only like a wife and kids got hurt from that, but extended family, like, that has a reach, friend, like,
we're colleagues, everything. It's
everything. It's just it's a big mess. So I don't even know that I've fully processed what's going on, what happened with my father, the divorce, all those things. So personal growth isn't about just other people and how I can interact with other people. It's learning how to process all of this and be okay with myself. Like, that's what I think I need to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, any relationship that we have is based on the relationship that we have with ourselves.
No. Yeah. Well, that was my thoughts on day 3.
Jeez. Well, I mean, we are going so deep. It's really, really interesting. I wrote this note to myself the other day. Because obviously everything comes when I'm driving.
Driving is an interesting thing. Yeah.
So this is what came up, and this is like all about relationship with self, right? And thank you for sharing that stuff about your dad, because it's hard, right? It kind of broke my heart just hearing, and like, so I can't even imagine what it must have been like to go through that.
And like there's always, you never know what emotions that story, and I don't tell it often. In fact, I've never put it on social media or anything like that, and even on like Suicide Awareness Month and those types of things, I've just never shared it.
No, you haven't. Well, not that I know of.
And you never know. Like, I never know how I'm going to react when telling that story. Will I hold it together? Which, thank goodness I did this time.
Why, thank goodness?
I don't know.
I understand though.
I don't know why, thank goodness. I did, I'm glad I did, and just not complete breakdown from it. So
ugly crying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a big one. I think we suffer from this stuff a lot more than we allow people to see.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's really, really hard. Anyway, not to change the subject, but to kind of go into that whole relationship with self thing. And I was driving and I was like, this is what I wrote to myself. Who am I in the middle of the night when no one is watching, when I'm not performing, when I'm just faced with myself? Sometimes it feels as if there's a gaping empty hole that scares me, but at other times that space shows me vastness and the possibilities that are available to me. So do I choose to crawl into that hole like Alice did when she entered Wonderland, or do I shrink back, play small, numb myself, live on social media, on online dating apps, immerse myself in work, constantly searching for external meaning and purpose? What do I do? And what do you do? Who am I in those moments when I am all alone and when no one is watching? Who am I when I'm not in a relationship, when I'm not in the role of being a mother or employee or friend? Who am I at my core? Who am I when I'm alone? And do I even like that person?
Wow.
Driving.
I don't even know what to say, because for one, I can relate to all of that, and two, like, if you strip all those things away, I don't think I can answer that for myself.
No.
Because if there is that openness, that open time, that open space, I very quickly try to fill it with something, and I can rationalize it. I'll get a new book and fill it with reading this new classic novel, right? Or something else, or, fill it with walking the dog. I don't know. It's like, let's just not go there, because that's really hard. And it's, I'd rather
and
just.
it's empty. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it often takes me, and this is getting really deep, I will often think about the day that I'm going to die. And will I be alone? Will there be anyone there with me? And what happens next? I mean, some of my earliest memories, and this is going to get a little bit dark, but some of my earliest memories, and I must have been maybe like 4 or 5. I remember waking up in the middle of the night. I remember my room exactly. I remember there was no blind on the window, so it was just pitch black outside. And I remember just being like, I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm here. I don't understand why I'm alive. I don't understand where I was when Noah's Ark was happening. And this was the big thing for me always. Where was I when Noah's Ark, when Noah was on his ark? Because I was in a very religious school, and it was like, oh man, I was like, this question just blew my fucking mind.
That's a deep question
for a 5-year-old.
4 or 5-year-old. Like, an existential question.
Crisis. I have been living in existential crisis since the age of 4.
Why are we here? What does it all
Why?
mean?
What is my purpose? And then, like take it forward to being in rehab when I was 24. I remember like sitting in these groups therapy things and people would be like talking about stuff. And I was like, I don't understand what my purpose is in life. I don't understand why I'm here. How do I find it? Help me find it. And, and I think that I have grown in leaps and bounds in the 18 years since I was in rehab, but it's taken hard fucking work. It's taken facing that emptiness.
Yeah.
And trying to, it's almost like bedazzling an ugly t-shirt. I make the darkness glitter and shine.
Well, I think that's our purpose, right? Like, I don't think our purpose, I mean, shit, dude, I don't know, but I don't think our purpose is like chasing anything specific.
No.
I think our purpose is building ourselves up as much and as strongly as we possibly can, because you'll never be able to make a difference in anybody else's life if you're not solid.
Yeah.
If you're not built up the way you're supposed to be built up, right? So the idea of what's my purpose, how can I make a difference? You never will unless it starts here, unless you work on yourself first, right? And I think that's like, at least that's what I'm learning myself, because I'm always, Jesus, I have 3-4 degrees, and it's like
you're very educated,
but the thing is, like, I'm always chasing
something.
Like, I'm gonna get this education, and I'm gonna do this, and this is how I'm gonna be successful, and these are the things I'm gonna do. And it's like, no, but there's none of that's gonna matter. Like, if I'm freaking broken, it doesn't matter. I'm not stable enough to do what I want to do and help anybody if I am broken. So my purpose is me, it's building me up. And that includes my kids. Like, obviously they're my purpose, but listen, if I'm on shaky ground, so are they.
Oh man. I mean, I can't even go into the topic of kids right now and I won't discuss it here just out of respect, but I am literally going through the hardest time of my life as a mother, and not even as a mother, probably the hardest time of my life right now with regards to something that's going on with my son, and it breaks my heart. However, I have to be, what the beautiful thing in this is that I am realizing how strong and resilient and powerful I am as a person to myself, that I can hold a space, that it's not just about me. And that's something I was never able to do.
Yeah, kids will do that.
Fuck. Oh my God. Like, everything else just pales in comparison to what's happening right now. It's
Kids,
hard.
Yeah. It will bring things into perspective very quickly with someone you love as deeply as a child.
Because, we were talking about love the other day, I think, and what it means, right? Yeah. And I'm not sure I know what love means. I'm not sure if I've ever really loved another person apart from my kids.
Yeah. I mean, love's a very interesting thing, because and we had talked about this too, and it's like, what does that mean? Because I will be honest in saying that I have a certain amount and type of love for everyone.
Right. I love you. You know what I mean? Like, I love my friends and the people that are close to me. I love them. I'm talking more about the romantic partner love. That love that's supposed to be the greatest and all-encompassing, and
Yeah.
not to
Well, there's
get
no
into that.
definition for it, so it's very hard to say like if you have or haven't. But no, I have for sure. Not like my kids. I mean, there's no.
Oh, you can't
But
compare.
it's a different. But it's different. Like it doesn't even make sense to compare
No,
love with a partner to love with your kids. It's just completely different. And
totally.
if not that anyone's ever told me to pick or choose or compare,
Oh,
but if
fuck,
they
there's no question.
if the exactly, it's just it is,
No question. Anyway, I derailed the conversation a bit, but getting back to day 3 and the behaviors that don't align with my authentic self. That was like the question, right? And
yes.
yours was personal growth, that you don't feel like you are engaging in personal growth. My behavior that I identified as something that sabotages everything in my life, financial, emotional, relationships, everything, is negative self-talk.
Mm.
And I will tell you this, if I spoke to myself, if I spoke to anybody else, or if I treated anyone else the way I treat myself, I'd be locked up. I'd be put in jail.
No
I
friends.
am a fucking tyrant. Huh?
You'd have no friends.
Well, I mean, you've heard me speak my mind at times.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't about me. Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Yeah,
I
but
think it was just a
yeah.
big thing for me. It doesn't serve a purpose. It's not positive. It's a habit. It's become a subconscious thing where it's just such a habit that it just constantly is this loop of you're fat, you're ugly, you're disgusting, you're not good enough, no one will love you, you're gonna die alone. Like, always have this fucking dying alone shit in this crisis that I have. And I create this reality of hell in my head that I
Mm-hmm.
live in every single day.
And when you think about that loop and this kind of, this cycle of negative self-talk and all those areas, is that a behavior that pulls you away from every value or specific values in those 5?
I think every value,
Mm-hmm.
because it will undermine absolutely everything. It will undermine my ability to be successful. It will undermine my ability to be a good mother. It will undermine my ability to do anything, because it's constantly, nothing I do is good enough. And it's based in these core beliefs that I have, that, that are shaped as we're kids. Like, we all have core beliefs, and some of them are negative and some of them are positive, but the negative ones I have and always have had are, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthwhile, and I'm no one's first choice. Whether it comes to work, whether it comes to romantic relationships, I'm never anyone's first choice. And you know why? Because I'm not my own first choice.
That's interesting. So then what's the fix? What's the pathway to solving this? Because then it is learning how to be your own first choice, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, and
Yeah.
that has to be the solution.
Yeah.
But that's talk, right? That's thought. What's the actions to figure that one out?
It's so practical. It's literally like every time I catch myself stopping it and challenging myself, like, is this true? No, it's not
Awareness.
fucking true. It's bullshit. Awareness. So it's about awareness and choosing to think different thoughts, challenging my own thinking, calling bullshit on myself, and replacing those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And it's about growing up. Like, it's actually about being like, you know what? This shit doesn't serve me anymore. I'm setting my life on fire. I need to set these thoughts on fire.
Yeah. Growing up
I'm
is an interesting
choosing
one.
to
Like,
be positive. Oh, right.
I know I need some, need to say personal growth, probably some emotional growth as well.
Oh, we all
So,
do. I mean, I feel like we're taking a microscope to ourselves in such a big way right now, because we're
that's
choosing
good
that,
though.
actively choosing it. And I think it's good. But
Yeah,
as
it's
much
good.
as we sit here and go on about the bad things, like, I'm out there enjoying life still.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Yes. Things are still good. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, there's still
totally.
amazing things that are happening
Yeah.
every single day in my life that I'm very appreciative for. I don't call those out as much as I should. And that's maybe part of the process here is being more aware and grateful, showing gratitude for the things that are going well. And let's be honest, I have more things that are going well than not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a
totally
fact. It really is. But kind of with that whole explanation of whatever the hell I talked about being on a trail, it's like hard to be like, wow, I'm on this amazing trail, going to this amazing location, like experiencing all this, because when you're lost and you're like, shit, like, how did I get here? Where am I going? You know, I'm not on the right track. I need to figure this whole thing out. And it's like, well, now you're not enjoying anything. Like you're in the woods and they're like beautiful trees and animals and birds and all these things around you. And you're not noticing all of it because all you can think about is, how do I get back there?
Right.
So,
how do I get back to safety?
Yeah.
What if instead of wanting to get back to safety, we choose curiosity instead?
Well, I think that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Being curious is a good one for sure.
Are we going to do day 4 or are we going to end it here?
I think this was, I think values was, I think this is a good one. Like we went into values, kind of pinpointing, you know, our behaviors, either our behaviors that are sabotaging these values or, you know, forcing us to not fulfill them, and, or which one of them am I not really living by, right? So I think we hit this pretty hard. And day 4 is a little bit different in terms of topic. So I think we can maybe save that for the next one. Okay. What do you think?
Perfect. I love it.
We're almost 50 minutes in. This is probably good.
I mean, no one wants to listen to more than 5 minutes, right? So we kind of lost them at the beginning. Okay, I'm just going to end this recording.
Perfect.
Oh, wait.